the last performance of that night is from Mhayise Production, which is from Musa's side. And wow, the performance was based on the struggle for freedom. It's called Ndiki, which I kept being like, which Ndiki, like which language are they using? Is it the South African Ndiki or the Kenyan Ndiki? And the South African one is like, it's about prosperity. It's a prayer for prosperity. It's a prayer for moving forward. It's a prayer for, yeah. So it's a spirit. Ndiki is a spirit, right? And then the Kenyan Ndiki, I think will depend with the language in Kenya you're speaking, which for me, most probably, I'll go with the one that I speak, one that I know, which will be like the Luo language, and it will be like keep writing, if I'm not wrong, keep writing or just write. And so I was, which one were they using? I would love to go with my Durban brother and believe he was using the South African one, which is the spirit of prosperity, love, moving forward, and all that, which still makes sense. Even the Luo one still makes sense. So both Zulu and Luo were right here. I loved that performance. Why? That performance found a way of what I was telling you earlier, of the meeting point of different genres of art, the meeting point of all these art forms of art that we do that on their own, they're just a good art. But when you put it with another one, you make a statement. And you know me, I've been such a big fan of using different art media to just like create and create. And there was music, there was the playing of the percussions. They had music, playing of percussions, and singing. They had at the same time poetry which was done by Miss Rabian for that time. And this performance was, the storyline they used was of Boniface Mwangi, the struggle to freedom and the struggle to self-realization. Where it started from was really amazing. They had all these people in masks and they are pulling and they're tearing this person apart. And at the end of the day, what it was about was the fact that they could see themselves. And what these guys do, which I found so powerful, was starting to take off their masks. Not those guys taking off their own masks. These people just coming and taking off the mask because like, remove it. So they looked like there were moments of conversations, which were in dance, in choreography, but those moments of conversations were really amazing. The star of that show was Davila. Davila was I think, because Davila was the one who was representative of the struggle for freedom. They danced with this other person that I've forgotten their name. It was really amazing. That too was a show on that day, like it really stayed with me. There was so much, like, points were made throughout that show. The costumes were really thought through, that when you talk to the choreographer later and what that was about, it was so amazing, of talking about even whiteness. People do not address that in dance field because most of our projects, most of the things we do are really sponsored by white people. So you don't go, like what Thomas Sankara was saying, people don't fight the people who feed them. Like the person who feeds you owns you. Yeah. So that, I found it really amazing that he was willing to make statements like those. Even Black people's wanting to be in proximity to whiteness, and for that reason, the methods that they use, to punish other Black people, the methods they use to handle other Black people are just like really white tactics, but they're using them so that they can feel better. And that's why specifically the masks were white. Yeah, so that performance on Saturday, that was the closing night. It was really, really dope. They did an amazing job of just making sure that all the way through there was this consistency. There was no moment where they dropped in energy, right? There was no moment they dropped in energy. Their energy was consistent all the way through. Like they were hitting what they needed to. They talk, and then the way it ended was so beautiful. I am a fan of problems that don't have solutions, mostly on stage. I hate when artists give people solutions. Like, who do you think you are? Coming here and telling us, like, now you do this, now go and vote and change. What? Who are you talking to? So I really loved that when everything was said and done, everyone who was on that stage, they had like ropes that were tying them and pulling them back. Everyone was pulling their part. Like everyone was now doing their part they could do. And I love that people were at different levels of being pulled by this rope. I really love that. But there was no people on the same level. People were at different levels of being pulled by this rope. People were dressed differently. It wasn't one costume of this happening, right? And people are going to pull this rope at their own moment of understanding. I also love that. I really appreciated that. It wasn't end and then everyone picks their rope and wears the rope and go hang yourself. No, it was this person realizes, oh shit, what am I doing? And then they go pick the rope and now we fight this. And then another person and another person until the last one of them who remains and is looking at his hands and doesn't understand why he's still on stage. I love that. And then he goes and he picks the rope and they stay in that amazing wavy line of theirs. So that performance for me spoke so much. I loved the infusion of the different cultures because it was a meeting of performances by our South African choreographer and Kenyan artists. And so that meeting point where there was no point they lost the cultures of both places. The singing was very South African. The singing was very South African. It was the chants, it was just chants. What it was doing were majorly chants. Those things you can translate in English. You know what it means if you understand what they're saying, but you can translate them in English. Then they had, I love that Rebian actually did a Sheng piece, which was so amazing. I don't think, like, Kenyans could claim anything, but nothing screams Kenyan like Sheng. I don't think there's anything that screams Kenyan, like the way Sheng is spoken, and not the wanting to sound dope Sheng is, the wanting to talk to you Sheng. So they really had an amazing performance with the Sheng, the way they played around with it. And then the Nyatiti, they were playing the Nyatiti. That was also another thing. Kake Wakake was the one who was in charge of playing the Nyatiti. So they were playing the Nyatiti, which also made its point, made its major points. They had a percussionist, I think. I don't know who the percussionist was, but they had that. I don't know if it was Musa playing the percussions too. But yeah, Musa was majorly singing and just guiding from the side of the stage. The way they used the stage was also very, very amazing because there was no time the stage was imbalanced. The way also people were moving on the stage where there could be 3 choreographies happening at the same time, but they're not distracting from each other. They're in response to whatever else is going on stage. Yeah. So that performance was my highlight of the place. And I love that it was the last performance because I don't know if I would have been able to sit down for another performance. I don't think so. I love that it was the last one for that night. Any questions? Because you're not there.
No, and I can tell that ilikuwa the highlight of the night, and vile explain,
Mm.
I also wish ningekuwa hapo na ni experience also because nakuanga big equally on fusing different mediums
Mm.
for art, using different styles, borrowing from different cultures. And when an art piece is eclectic, it draws from different places. And when it's done well, it is something exceptional. So I appreciate your breakdown regarding day one. Ilikuwa pia niulize piece ya Arabian ilikuwa kwa lugha ipi na the impact iliplay kwa the piece which ume
Alikuwa na
break
pieces
down.
mbili.
Kitu yenye siko sure ni whether tutakutrust that it was good based on merit ama ni kitu subjective. We leave that out of this conversation. Tutaendelea, we'll
Sa.
move on.
Sa.
Pengine
Okay.
pengine amekushikia gani nyuma ya simu.
Ako tu hapo wewe. We all know Rebian is asleep by now. Hata ajui tunamsengenya.